cousin or in a shop or something before you first got one? What's like that first memory of video games for you?
It was pretty much my parents got an Atari 2600 with a whole bunch of cartridges, and I'm assuming that was it was probably really cheap there because that's during like the video game crash, and for me, like growing up, I never knew there was a crash because I had all these Atari video games that that had plenty of video games. But yeah, the Atari 2600 was my first console. Loved the games. Pitfall, obviously. Combat, had a lot of great memories with playing with my brothers and sisters and cousins, and with the paddle controllers also, doing the Rampage game with the 4 players. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And my first computer was got it later on. It was in a Mattel Aquarius.
Like Mattel, the toy company made a
yeah, exactly. And they made a computer. It was a bad computer, but I still enjoyed it. I think it was probably like a spinoff of their Intellivision, because I used kind of like a similar controller, but I never played the Intellivision. But when I see the graphics and like the controller, it seemed like it was kind of like a spinoff. But I actually learned like coding on it. I would go to I would take out books from the school's library on how to program BASIC, and then I'll write basic programs on it. But the bad part about it, about that computer, is that we didn't have a way to save our program. So like I would last like probably hours writing a program, and if I turned off the computer, it completely erased from memory. So there was a tape drive available for it, but we never got it.
So this, right, okay, I thought it was more like just like a PC that Mattel had branded, but when you say a television, so is it, am I in the ballpark? It's something like the Famicom with the keyboard or something in Japan with Famicom Basic, like carts or discs?
It was a dedicated computer. It did have carts also. It was all contained. The computer was all contained in a keyboard. It had like these blue chiclet keyboards, blue chiclet keys, and then you could it had these cartridges that had we had a word processor. I think like kind of like a spreadsheet program called FileForm, and we also had like this small printer. I think it was dye sublimation printer. Was it? No, not that. It was like this tiny. It looked like a receipt printer that you see like the receipts in the stores, and then it was print these tiny things. Then I would type a command to tell it to print something. But it was I would compare it more to like the ZX Spectrum, like looking similar to that. So
okay, that's so it's such an interesting first step into computers that you got this thing. It's kind of functioning as a PC, and it's not like there's no disk drive or anything like that. It's just the carts. That's why you couldn't save anything. Is that right?
Yeah, the carts. There was an external tape drive available for it, but we never got it. So we could. That was the only way of saving, but I was never able to save anything.
Yeah, sure. I can imagine that. Same thing in my family. If you got something, there was never an accessories board for it.
Exactly.
You got a fucking console. Here's your Mega Drive. What, arcade stick? Get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? That stuff costs the same amount as the console. Definitely a second controller. You're an only child. You only need one. Like, I can understand that you that sort of, especially those things were very expensive back then. Okay, so you were able to so it had BASIC on there. So that's even like, because that then in that case it'd be pushing it even before. Like I used to learn from like those dummies books or something like that, programming for dummies or some guide, and I remember trying to learn some early Java or something from a book, and they're these things that would be like thicker than phone books. It's like Introduction to Java 5 or something, and it's like this thick. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to learn everything, and it's all just boring. But that was even kind of before then. You're typing in basic programs, which I guess might be the equivalent of, I know back in the day, some of the computer magazines for things like ZX Spectrum and C64, and to a lower extent the Amiga by the time that was around, magazines would have like some basic program that you could write out. Was it something kind of like that?
Yeah. I didn't get them from magazines. I would go to my school's bookstore. So like my parents didn't get me any computer magazines. It wasn't until I was older and to and work on my own, Or like I remember one time my sister bought me like a subscription to Electronic Gaming Magazine. That was a video game, but that was much further along. But yeah, like I would take out books from my school's library, basic books that would have basic. Some programs wouldn't work because like they were built for other computers, but some would because like they were more generic.